I don't know if I want to see it. I heard it was supposed to be really sad.
It's the greatest anime ever! There are these 9 countries, right? And each one of them has this super shiny giant crystal called a soul future. And because they have the soul futures, everyone in the world has like these perfect happy lives. But then these monsters called voids start eating all the soul futures. Wow! And if they get all 9 soul futures, then the great void appears and ends the world. So, one by one, the voids are scarfing them all up and everybody's freaking out. It's so wild! Anyway, that's when the best warriors from all 9 countries team up to protect the last soul futures. They're called the 9 Soldiers, which is just the coolest name. And they all fight really hard to save the world from the voids. But then Luke, he... well, he...
Well, that's pretty weird. I couldn't even put myself in the, on top of the video there. I guess when you're playing a clip, it won't let you be part of it unless you kind of do this, side-by-side thing or whatever. But yeah, welcome to the stream. I just need to boot up my little, where is it? Are we there yet? Hold on. See what I did. Every time. Hold on. There it is. All right. Okay. I fell asleep yesterday. I don't know what time. And last night I went out for dinner. My sister invited me out for dinner last night with my nephew and myself. And usually it's dinner at her place, and we had spend the afternoon, evening hanging out. But yesterday was just we went to this Vietnamese restaurant. But the thing was the restaurant was run and owned by Cambodians. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Let me just open up the screen so I can show you guys what I'm working on today. Of course, it's the same as what I was working on the other day, which is the farm page. And let me bring it onto my Cintiq. There we go. Reboot that friggin' driver for the Cintiq, and then bring it onto the screen like a good little monkey. Here we go. And the work is done. Here we are. Welcome to the Monkey Show. I am Aru, the Monkey King of Zeolandia, the one and only Monkey King of Zeolandia. For those of you who don't know what or where is Zealandia. It is an alternate, parallel version of New Zealand. It's set in a fantasy world called Zealandia. Well, that's the name of it. It all started with a little dream I had, where these feet were running through this forest, and I was like, why are these feet running through this forest in my dream, right? Where do they come from? Who are they? Who do they belong to? And so I try to search in the dream. Like I do lucid dreaming. Like I'm sure a lot of people, not many, I guess, but enough people know what lucid dreaming is. It's where you're able to control your dreams. And as I move here, zoom in, do some work. And so I can carry on talking and working. If you've ever lucid dreamed, you know what that is. But for those who do know what a lucid dream is, it is when you are in a dream and you realize it's a dream. Because not often do you realize that. And over the years, maybe like the last 20 years, I have been able to train myself to wake up in my dream, right? To recognize this, yes, this is a dream. And it takes a lot of force, to be honest. It takes a lot of mental capacity and awareness to go, you're in a dream, dude. Go with it or change it. So this is how it's spelled, just in case for those folks, who don't know what it is. It is lucid and whoops, D, press it, D. There we go. So this is what it's spelled. All right. So Lucid, lucid. So you become aware of what you're dreaming, and it's it can be, it can be really cool because like you can go, oh man, I'm in a dream, and because you're in a dream, you can take control of it, or you can just let it play out. Like, oh, let's carry on with this. Like, now that I know I'm in a dream, let's carry on with it. So a lot of times, a couple of stories I've written has been based around that. A lot of times, if I realize I'm in a dream, I just let it go. Yeah, I'm in a dream. I'm not going to do anything. Just play it out. And the thing about me, myself, and I is that I often, when I try to lucid dream in a way, I force myself to remember it. And I know a lot of times people wake up from dreams and go, what the hell did I just dream? And what was I dreaming? What did I dream, right? No, what was I dreaming? What did I dream? Oh, I remember that, but let me go back to sleep and try to get it, and you never can go back to it. Or sometimes you can, and you're like, it doesn't play out the way you want, when it's a broken dream. So when I was, when it came to Zealandia, right, I had, before it even became Zealandia, I fell asleep and, I was in a dream and I was like, why is this feet running? What is it running from? And so I forced myself to look past these feet that were running. Pretty dainty feet, right? They're young feet. They're not like my, 50-year-old feet, right? And so I was just thinking cankles, but like, so I was running. I looked past this running feet, the first set of feet, and then I realized there was other feet running. Or something was chasing them. It's like, oh, okay. So then I woke up. Then I pulled back and I was like, whoa, this is a huge forest. What the hell's up with this forest? Why are these people chasing, or whoever these things are chasing this, this person in the forest? And so when I woke up, I don't know what else I remember from it. That's all I remember from it. But when I woke up, I went, I need to write this down. And so I wrote it down, and that built into this entire. Let me show you this amazing art piece from my awesome artist Joachim Hagström. He's Swedish, from Sweden. Where is it? Zealandia. Files. There it is. And So I'll show you this art. That, by the way, Zeolandia is going to be fully colored, and it's being fully colored now. While Iwakim's already working on issue 1, right? This is what I saw in my dream. So you see the speed running? All right, and this is just a JPEG, so that's why I can't take the letters away from it. You know, and I saw the speed running, as you can see it running, you know, and then the next page was is running feed, chasing feed. Well, not so much chasing feed, but chasing. And these were the people they're chasing, right? On these huge lizards. So, yeah, and then so I pulled back, you know, and I mean, I woke up and I saw like, okay, you know, it'll be interesting to do, like, let's find out how, let's create a story around that, right? As you can see, those are 2 pages from that. Just those two elements became this huge magnus opus. I like to call it my big work, because I've been writing and outlining bigger, other storylines and stories that I'm going to create in that universe. I already started working on a children's picture book. You know, like, you know, on one side you have a picture of, you know, a drawing, and on the other side you have a bit of text, you know, 1 or 2 paragraphs, so it's easy to read, with one of the characters that appears in it, one of the child characters that appears in it, and his story. So it's more aimed towards younger kids, right? Like 10-year-olds and not 8-year-olds, or even, you know, 6 to 10-year-olds, right? So 6 to 12-year-olds, right? So like not the preteens, yeah, that age group. So that there is, you know, and then this one here is, of course, a teen plus book. So, I mean, not this one in front of me, but like the Zeolandia itself. So the idea is that, you know, we end up like having all these different stories set in this one universe, which is Zeolandia. But Zeolandia also ties into the huge, you know, larger universe of Plunge, you know, Plunge universe. Wondering why I keep getting the circle here, where it should be, you know, going into the next one. It's kind of annoying me, because every time I look at that circle here, right, it should be showing that, but like, anyway, whatever. Okay, so this needs to be gray. And as I mentioned, you know, if you guys have been following and, you know, watching the other streams I've been doing about this, is that this is one way, you know, to actually, if you are a, you know, if you are a comic writer, but not an artist, this is a good, easy way to save money in investing in yourself and investing in your work by getting a drawing tablet, in this case, Cintiq, so that you can use a Wacom, right? And buy a, you know, a couple $100 worth of a Wacom or whatever tablet, and do the color flatting yourself. And then hire someone, right, to finish it off for you. Right? Do all the tones, highlights, and whatever have you, and make it cost effective, right? As you know, a lot of people talk about how expensive it is to create comic books and all that. It is. That's one side of things that people don't really, I guess, focus on a lot. But they understand. A lot of people generally understand that comic book, you know, takes a lot of money to create, especially if you're a writer, like myself, right? But a lot of writers don't help themselves when it comes to getting the, you know, working on their projects and getting it out there. So they will just, you know, they'll talk about it, oh, how expensive it is, who they got to find and where they got to find. It's $400 a page. It's all this. It's taking all this, but they'll never talk about how, you know, that there are people around the world who will, you know, who will partner up with you because they want their name out there. But not only that, but they also don't want $400 for that page because they know they're new to the industry, or they just, you know, they work full time anyway, and they have a job, they don't, or whatever. And it's not that you're trying to rip them off. It's just that you are all, in the same boat. They don't have a story. You have a story. They don't have a writer. You are a writer, right? You don't have an artist. They are an artist. And so, because the other thing about this is that when you have a complete book as an artist to show off your work, man, it's so much easier to, like, it's like CV, right? When you go to a job and they go, well, so what have you been doing for the last 3 years of your life? Have you been sitting at home twiddling your fingers, or what have you been doing, man? Have you been working? What jobs, right? What have you been doing? Well, I was doing this. Right? What has that got to do with you, wanting to come and work for me in comics? All right. So that's the other side of actually creating comics, right? I mentioned earlier that one of the guys that used to work for Rising Sun Comics, right, cut his teeth working on fan comics, and I'll bring that up here just since I've just mentioned that, right? Working on fan comics for Rising Sun Comics, right, an indie publisher, which I'm a part of, right? As you can see, that's one of my magazines out here. So let me just go there. You guys, if you want to buy it, the digital version of this, where is it? Where are you? Also, you can buy my digital version of my incredible comic for $2.99. Right, while we're here, go read it, because number 2 is coming out soon. Right. Go grab it, I should say. And also, it's full color, by the way, for kids. I mean, not for kids, but like, look at that. Look at that. Right. Look at the awesome work. Right. Oh yeah, this is the page that got me in trouble, and I had to go back and for printing, and I had to go back and I didn't recognize it, but I had to recolor it. I mean, not recolor it, re-edit it to get rid of this freaking stupid cutoff lines, right? Not cutoff line, but it's like your protection line. You got to work within those lines. So when it gets a cutoff, because this is where it gets cut off, right? So anyway, I had to go back to printing again and made our printing, our delivery to our backers a month late, and that sucked, right? You never want to be late on your books. So yeah, so this is I think this is a digital cover art. And I'm looking at thinking of putting this as for issue 2 as a cover B, because it was a poster to it, but we never put it out as a cover, so that I can remember. So we're going to put that as the cover. So here's the, get us to, is it NZ or is O? Ocean. So yeah, go check out the 64-page full color magazine, right? Put me back at the bottom there. Yeah, and you can for $2.49, man. 64 pages. Can you go wrong? Can you ever go wrong with the 64 pages? And 40 pages of that is comic books, comic strips, comic stories, all complete, not like one-offs or something, but not like part of, but it's actually complete. Plus interviews, 10-page short story of the bus, right? This is really cool. It was released as a trade paperback, the complete story. Of course, we're going to be looking at bringing this artist on, hopefully. Not sure yet. This is Shane Evans. He's got a book already published, self-published. But we're going to look at printing it as part of Rising Sun Comics. And of course, find out about this dude who released this huge history of New Zealand comic books. Like, it's something like about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 pages or something, 500 pages. Big book. I own this book. Right? Talks about how, people don't even know that there's a lot of comic creators down here in New Zealand. There's like 100-year history of New Zealand comics or so. Also, you got without any text, this short story about Robot is like really cool. And then, of course, the contents page, so you can see what all is in there. So I put this together back in 2019. We're going to take it to Kickstarter. However, here we go. So I edited and published. and we're going to take it to Kickstarter, and then COVID hit. Plus, here you go, you got a full color, all ages, 12-page, one shot, kind of like a for young readers. So you can read this, comic book with your kids. I mean, this story with your kids, right? It's a mature reader's thing. So you got like a interview with a 40K German translator of the 40K novels. Also, you've got a Croatian, right, champion, trophy winner, whatever, award-winning cosplayer who was visiting New Zealand at the time. And I got my head writer, Ayla, who's a journalist, to actually interview quite a few people, including Sonia the Hobbit, to do that. And of course, this short story here is going to be in the comic that I'm coloring right now, which is, let me get rid of this, Templeton #1. So as I was mentioning, right, if you are a writer, man, right, if you are a writer, you understand that as a writer doing comics, right, that's a costly thing. And a lot of people understand that, like I said, that, and then because especially if you were like, our first time. If you're a first-time writer, it's difficult, and to get your work out there, right? It's one of the toughest things. And you're lucky if you actually, get a grant. Honestly, you're lucky if you just get over that, backing that you need. And it can be disheartening when you can't, or when you don't, right? I know it was for me. It was very disheartening for me and for my team. That having put out in Critical #1, full color, 22 pages, with variant covers and all that, and then to find out that, that people didn't even think it was, it was going to be, they probably thought it was going to be like a crappy, DIY book, like I like to say, Indy isn't it's like you got mainstream, right, which is Marvel and all that, and then you got INDY, right, a DI. Oh, I'm doing it again. Hold on. So let me bring it up here so I make sure. So there's mainstream, right? Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, right? That sort of split, right? Right. Then there is the next tier. That's the A tier. So B tier of creators is INDE. Right. Let's just make sure that they're terming the indie comics. And then there's the C tier, right? When it comes to the levels, then it's INDY, right? So what I'm talking about is the indie and not the DY. DY is whatever goes, right? Like whatever, it's not like the same quality art. It's not like it's just below this. And this is just below this. So we're basically creating, as far as I'm concerned, this, not the B tier, right? Behind B level, behind mainstream comics. So when we came out and put out a B tier book, we're like, well, I'm sure people, I hope, people will be impressed with the amount of work and effort and time and money we put into making sure that, our book is, is not a C tier book, it's a B tier book. Because we don't have like the so-called professional name brand label, right? That one has by being part of like mainstream, right? I have a 35 veteran of the mainstream type thing, right? No, I'm not. I'm a, I'm a DIE, right? I'm a DIE guy, right? So I know my quality of my work is up to mainstream level, but I'm not in the mainstream. I don't have a background in the mainstream, so I can't class myself as a pro. However, the money and time and effort and energy we put into it is about the same level as as an A tier book, Marvel, DC thing. So I can, if it, I would, and I would be happy, right, to put my book right up there with Marvel and DC next to each other on the shelf, right? Mind Critical book right now with the full color. I will, you know, I'll be happy to put it side by side and compete with them in the stores right now. However, there are books that are DUI, right? This thing, the C level. And the problem we have now in crowdfunding is that there are people who come from the mainstream who think that everything crowdfunding should be this level, right? Or even this level, right? But it's this level. A majority of the books is this level, and a lot of people who are doing it for the first time are in that level, right? The DY. And because it's at that level, when they get their book, right? Because a lot of times people fluff up, right? What is that word? Puff up. I think it's puff up or like fluff up. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. Where they have all these really cool looking variant covers on their A cover books, right? Like the first book that, first cover that they release is an A cover, right? So people think, well, I mean, it's like a variant cover. Sorry, apologies there. That the first book, the first tier, whatever you call it, like on the crowdfunding is they have a really cool looking $400 pay, $250, $400, $300, whatever, highly paid comic book cover. That's a variant. That's not a variant. They don't say it's a variant cover. That looks amazing, that is done by a person that they paid a lot of money to do. And so they use that as their as an A cover. It's going to get confusing in some time for me. I'm sure of this all through this stream. So their A cover is a highly paid quality art from an A level or a B level artist, right? And it's not actually what the interior art looks like. And so because of that, people feel ripped off when they get the book, because they don't actually put the pages out showing this is what my artwork is inside. In sales, as I mentioned, I've spent probably, 15 years of my life in sales. And I've seen all the tricks that like salespeople play. And that's something I've always like. For me, I actually got told off once by by people in the bar because I said I never lie to my customers. I'd rather lie to my and it was a really bad way of planning because I was a half cut, right? I was drunk. It was a nightclub, right? We went out for work too, and people were like saying, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was like, "I do this. I'm a salesperson as well." And she goes, "Oh," I said, I don't lie to my family or or my wife, but I lie to sorry, no, the other way around. I would rather lie to my family than to lie to a customer because because I felt like customers should never be lied to because there is someone, because once you start down that line, You can't. Sometimes you can you can fib to your family and stuff, but don't lie to your family either, right? You can withhold information because safeguarding them, whatever, but don't lie to your family either, or just don't tell them at all, right? If you're gonna lie, don't say anything at all. But I said to the lady said, well, how could you, why lie at all? I said, well, you can't always, and talk. She was saying, why lie to your family at all? She got upset with me. I said, well, sometimes you just can't say things, right, to your personal because you might hurt their feelings and so on. But I said to her, like, I would never lie to my customers because after years and over a decade in sales, I was like, I despise anybody who would lie to their customer because you're lying to strangers who will go away and tell to other people that when they came to you in that store, you lied to them, you cheated them, and so they would go away feeling broke, like feeling really pissed off. And here's the thing that you got to learn about people: they talk. If they're upset, they'll tell everybody else. Right? If you piss them off, they'll tell everybody else how you got pissed, how they felt ripped off by you. The same in Indy Comics, right? If you let down people and you rip them off and you like send out, they come in thinking that like, and this is about the indie tier, right? Where you've like basically just trying to get rid of that. Where they felt like you gave them a C tier book with an A or B tier cover because that's what you slash around there because that's what's going to get their eyes on your book. Well, they're going to feel cheated. And once the word gets out that that's what you're putting out, you're cheating your customers because backers are customers. They're not backers, right? They're customers at this point. And if you start treating customers like, bait and switch, which really is what it is. Right? And I've talked more about bait and switch before. But when you have, when you have creators doing this, writers, whatever, using A and B tier cover art to bring in to sell their C tier books, it's not good for you long term. Sure, get your money and run, right? That's what you got to do. But all of us out here who are like remaining and working to build a legacy for our work, our name, because we don't see this as like one and done. We see it as a long-term relationship with our customers, with our fans, with our backers. We're going to be here for a long run. Well, these people who have come in and done some damage in constructions for cowboys, and they've run off, or they haven't even released their books, or they've, taken the money, or they said they're going to release their book, and they keep it going on for years and years without ever giving people what they want. And here's the thing: comics don't take that long to do. It doesn't. It depends on the artist that you have, and it depends on the management of the artist that you have. Now, in the indies, it's not a full time, right? People working in the indies or in the IE, and DY, they're not working on this full time. They're working on this while they're doing their full time work, their part time work, and so it takes a bit longer. However, if all you do is, if all your professional life is about its comics, then it shouldn't take you more than 6 months to put out a 22-page comic book. Oh my God, everybody that I work with has part-time work or full-time work. I have an artist who's a commercial artist, right? One of them works for an NGO, right? Which is a non-government organization where he does comic art for, creating commercial art as part of teaching kids, teaching other people using comics how to, get a message across to them about whatever, education, whatever. Actually, I just realized that's hate. And so it should not be green. It should be brown, dry grass. Done. I just realized my shoulder's already having RSI. Hasn't settled down since the last time. It's all right. We'll carry on. Just getting a bit stiff. Hold on. Talking to myself, sorry guys. Trying to encourage myself to get past the whole, whole idea of you can do it, and that's something you got to do, man. Like a lot is encourage yourself to complete what you started. It can be difficult, right? Because it can be. There's a lot of like disappointment in the comic scene as an artist alone, because you got a lot of people attacking you about what you're doing. Your art isn't that good, or people won't like it because you're a nobody, and you got to constantly try to focus on ignoring all that and just working on working. Of course, a lot of people out here are using their former resumes to basically steal and grift, and we all know who those are. We see them doing it all day long, but they do it because it takes the, they do all that because it takes the, trying to remember what these ties of color are like. There's a in New Zealand they can be like dark green or pale green, so it stands out. So when it the ties, so that you can go back and pick it up, so it doesn't disappear into the ground, right? And you don't want it to be like plastic ties lying all over the friggin' your field, or your animals chewing at them and getting hurt by them. So the hay, the ties are usually a different color to the, to the yellowing brown hay. See if this is a better. Yeah, that's a better color. Right, let me get rid of that. Find this. Then go back. There. There we go. Yeah, that's not good. Same thing here, see? Because she's holding it there, so let me get that color again. Hopefully you guys are not getting, what is it called? I can't remember now. It's like, queasy from the fact that I'm moving this thing around too much. Apologies if you are. So there are people out here expecting the DIY artists, right? The first time artists, people who are doing like, not the A level or B level art for their first book, because it's their first book, man. And I've done it myself. I self-published a DIY book, and then I decided, okay, I'm not going to release this publicly. I mean, I did, I took it to convention here locally on my own convention, and then I realized I took it to Kickstarter, and then I realized, no, I really don't want to put this out. It's my first flagship book, right, of that artwork. So I went back and I changed. I got a new artist, right, and I decided that I didn't want my own art to be the representation, right, and so of what I could do, right, what we were releasing from PlungeComics. And so getting a new artist meant that now I could also, I also rewrote it, by the way, to be able to compete with other, B tier and A tier comics. Got a colorist, as well to do that, to help me out. I learned a lot of lessons by doing that as well, right? And the other thing here was that I didn't get a letterer. I did the lettering myself. I did the design work myself on the books, logos, everything, apart from the art and the coloring. I did myself. That meant I taught myself how to letter, how to design a book, and how to make everything we did from that as a standard for everything, going forward. So it meant that I spent a lot of time making sure that everything looked a certain way so that I could copy paste that going forward for every other book we released, so that everything was standard, and that when you saw one of our books, you knew it was one of our books right from the get-go. Right, the cover, imprint, the logo design, interior. As soon as you opened up, you knew this was one of our books, who was doing it, and everything was there. And that's very important. I think a lot of people, like I've mentioned before, don't put enough effort, right, into how their book looks, the final product. They rush it. They don't think about, the long-term representation of the books. And those books I would call a DY, INDY, right? This thing here. And those creators I would call that, right? However, those people who are doing the B tier, like myself, and like I'm saying, I'm a B tier artist, a writer, creator. However, I am willing to put my book right next to these guys in the mainstream and compete with them. Because if you're in the mainstream, you're a pro. I'm not in the mainstream, so I am not a pro, so I'm a B tier, right? But a lot of C tier people try to think of themselves as a B tier people, but they don't put the effort in to be a B tier person. B tier person, right? And that's all in how you put yourself out there, man. There's some great artists that people don't even know who are putting out B tier work, who are not getting the support of that B tier or even A tier level, whatever you call it, because hold on, just realized what I did. I need to go here, get me my green, then get me my brown, get me the brown, get this the green, because it's just the eyes aren't there on their books, because they're nobody's as far as the industry concerned, but their work is A or B tier level. There's so many amazing works that never get backed because of so many people and the damage they've caused already to crowdfunding. My worry is that a lot of people who were really excited to support people are no longer excited to support people because a lot of people have basically, taken their money and ran, or they've turned around and given them C tier books, while at the same time promoting themselves as A and B tier level creators because of their artwork for their cover. So one thing that I'm adamant about is that the A cover art is always released as a cover for the interior art. The guy who does the interior art, or the lady artist, whatever, right? It's the same person who does the A cover. So that your first foot forward is the person who's done the interior art that people get to see. Do your variant covers and all that, whatever from BC and whatever, right? The other side of the coin is this. A lot of people fluff up their C-tier work with variant covers that are A-tier. So they'll pay all this money to the cover artist from like some, with a big name, right? Or a professional, or what have you. And because they know that by having that professional work, doing a cover for them, we'll get that professionals, art supporters, because that's why you do it. They have to come and find that one book that they've done for on this other cover, right? Despite the fact that that artist has nothing to do with the rest of the book, it's just the cover art, brand cover art. So you have people then being really, really pissed off that when they open up that interior art and see a very C-tier, it's like putting, here's what I'm saying, right? And it's going to sound very rude and very crash, sadly, but it's honest truth. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. By putting out like A tier or B tier cover on a C tier book, interior cover art, interior art, it's like putting lipstick on on a pig. It's still a pig, but the lipstick looks nice. It's what what people, and I'm very, very, and this is why for me, I'm always like, the cover art interior has to be the cover art cover A. So that when you're buying that cover, and then if you decide, oh, I love this guy's artwork for that cover, love his rendition or her rendition, then I'll buy a cover C instead. Knowing fully that the interior art is different. Excuse me. So I'm like, I got up about 2 hours ago and had a coffee and have been like, was in a meeting for an hour and I'm straight onto this, so I haven't had time to eat. So I'm just like, yeah, I always work like that. Like I like to do all this work, get all this work out before I go and reward myself with food. So that's just me. It's just the way I, kind of built my body up to. So you always hear my stomach rumbling and stuff. So apologies for that, but that's how it is with me. Feel like I need to, when I've done all the work, then I can go feel like I deserve being rewarded, right? Anyway, so yeah, putting lipstick on a pig, basically, by getting like paying somebody, just to do a cover that's really great looking, but your interior art is shit, right? But what that also does, on the flip side, is that it actually doesn't do anything good for the cover artists either. Yeah, sure, he gets the money and runs and boom, run, take your money, take your bag, man. Like they say, grab your bag when you can, right? Money bag. But the other side of the coin is this, that it actually damages the A tier or B tier artist to put their work on a C tier book. But sometimes you just got to do it because you need the money that week, right? You got bills to pay back. And because you got bills to pay, you just got to do what you got to do, right? But I've cleaned up on my part. Oh, just a little bit of that. Oh, that's fine. Just like a bit of branch in the back, working out. That one does need the corner. Because you can't really tell when it's like, on the pencils and stuff, where there's shadow, where's a branch in the back, when you're doing it. But when you see it in this close range, like I'm about 400%, right? You can see here. Zoomed in. So you can see all the details. And that's what I love about being able to do this, is that I can see, the minus details, and I can go in and like, because when you're looking at it, you're not looking at it 400%, but it matters a lot when you're like, when you're working at that level of pixels. Just realize there that I will probably make this a different color for that background tree, maybe darker. Let's go for a, there we go. So yeah, there are, and I was watching a 15-minute video. I thought it was actually 10 minutes. I don't know why I thought it was 10 minutes, but then when I played it while I was watching it, doing dishes and stuff, listening in the background, about a guy sweeping for Comicsgate and why the late books and why all this. The dude looks so defeated, man. Like, how people say low T energy? That dude had the most low T energy I've ever seen. He was talking like, oh man, I just got this book. And somewhere, it's like there was no excitement in his voice, because he knew that like he's nothing that was excited about. And it's kind of sad to see that, because like, if somebody talks about my books or who I am and stuff, I want them to be animated, because like, like the presentation is like, I guess 90%, right, of anything, right? If somebody's gonna talk and put me to sleep, I'm out of it, right? I'm just like, okay, sorry, I got other things to do. Please don't put me to sleep, all right? Because at the end of the day, there's a million things I can do right now, just like you guys, right? There's a million things, a million channels you guys can watch right now. But if I'm like talking like, you are not going to be here long. And then again, of course, you're watching me do this work, and a lot of you just watching this will get bored, because just me moving around freaking colors here, on this tree and whatever, but and if you find what I'm saying is boring, you'll be going elsewhere, and that's fine. That's just natural way. Even I'm the same way, man. I'm human as well, right? So I'm not going to try to pretend I'm like anything other than who I am, right? So, but the idea that this person could come out here and sweep for someone with a late book for 4 years and think that's okay. Because I'm also, he talks about how he's also a creator, but when you start talking like that, you also have 4 fingers pointing back at you. Because now you're telling your audience that, yeah, my book's going to be late, right? I've got my money that you gave me when I released my campaign, but guess what? You might not get your book. That I might have problems, and I might have all this. So I'm going to take your money that you've given me, that you worked very hard for, your 9-to-5 work or whatever, or your part-time work, right? And you gave me your money to get my dream made, so I can live my dream of having a comic book out here. But sorry, but this book might arrive after you're gone, right? And this is, I always, in my head, I always think this way, and which is kind of probably sad. A lot of people go, dude, that's a bit, that's kind of like a bit creepy to think that way. But like, I always think of like this: I would never want my book to arrive after somebody's like somebody can't read my book anymore, whatever the case, right? Because I've taken so long to release it after they've paid for it, right? I made a mistake with one of my friends where I didn't read the emails that I was supposed to send, and I was late to getting my book to my friends because he's here in New Zealand, and I'm like, oh crap. So I was really, I was really bummed out. So I put a whole bunch of other stuff. Well, not a whole bunch, but I put other stuff in there to say, hey, apologies, man, that nobody else got because I was late. Because everything was done, but I never received an email myself, to say, hey, my friend had back my book, and can you get this? I've already sent you the book to send to my publisher. And it's like, oh shit, didn't even know that. So it's been sitting here for freaking 6 months. I was so bummed out. So this is something that I'm going to have to be really on top of now. And that was because, to be honest, that was because I was doing something else, which was, running a freaking convention. And that's the thing about, when you're doing too many things, other things can fall by the side, right? You can get distracted and what have you. And so your focus is elsewhere, and but no excuses. You got to own it when you make a mistake, right? So yeah, I do not like people putting lipsticks on their on their pig books, honestly, because what that does is it actually brings down, in the sense that, because they're getting all these flashy covers. Let's say you paid a Jim Lee, right? And I don't think Jim Lee would ever do it, right? On a C tier book, because you're going to pay $30,000 to have Jim Lee put a cover on your C tier book. Would you do that? I'm sure somebody might. Someone who's like a millionaire who's got that money to throw around. Yeah, they would. But then why would a millionaire would get somebody in a C grade level of art to to not do a A level art, right? And this is it's really about having respect for yourself as well and your art, to be honest. I think at this level, at this stage of crowdfunding, you have to have a lot of respect for yourself on how you treat your customers, how you treat your yourself, your team. See, there's one rule that I have with my team, is that we are creating art. That's it. Together. Sorry. That we are creating art together. That's the rule I have for my team. Right. I tell them that together we are creating art. That we are working together. It's not just me out here doing my thing, getting my name out. No. And here's the thing. You'll notice that a lot of times my artist's name is bigger than my name, because my name appears twice, because of the fact that it's like, it'll be this. I'll show you why I do save this before I move. Let me bring a cover up. Here you go. I think this is a B cover or a C cover. I can't remember. I think it might be a C cover. So this is by Joachim Hagström, right? That's his cover here. And it's his name there on there. Oh, it's a cover B. There you go. So he had this art, and he said, oh man, would you like to use this? And this is this demon. And I go, yeah, cool, man. Sweet. So we did this cover B, right? So and here's what I mean by my artist's name being bigger than my name. So the reason being is that my name appears twice because it's my book, right? Because our initial A Saints Templeton. Then my writing credit name will become small, right? But my artist name is bigger. Because they're just as important as me. Right? And so on. However, like in this book, right, which is this one here, right? I'm doing the lettering, right? I'm doing the book design. I am doing the where are we? Where's my text? Right, there's a lettering. Right, I haven't finished editing that because I moved around some of the narrative onto the next page because I found that I thought that like it was too much, you know, text on that page. So I moved over to the next page, but I haven't sorted it out now. But I'm going to do that. I've rearrange it properly. Final rearrangement once I've finished the coloring or the color flatting. So even though I'm the inker and the color flatter and the book designer, my artist name appears bigger than mine on the cover. Because it's a sign, for me, I feel like it's a sign of respect to my artist who's worked really hard, right, for me, because it's his work is there. That's why I say it's myself and my artist working together to create art. Yeah, I thought that was going to be the brass, but it's not. It's the handlebars to this wheelbarrow. Now, I'm going to go in here and make sure I've got every little pixel colored. See, you go, not colored, all around the outline. And this is and so putting lipstick on swine with Indy books, right? And that's DY. When people get that book, when backers get that book, and it's really cool cover, man. Yeah, really amazing art. And then they open up that book and see that shitty work inside. And note, I did say that my first release for myself, the web comic as a print comic, I felt the same way about my own work. It felt like really shitty. It was okay. It was a DY book, but for me, I felt it was, I could have done better. And so I did better. I changed it. Next time, got new artists, covered it all up, got somebody else to do it. And, went from what we did in 2007 or 2010, whatever it was, and brought it all the way back to 2025, right? 2022, I think it was 23, whatever, when we released it, level of content. So it's something you got to have respect for yourself and be happy with it long term. And this is something that I think a lot of people aren't really, I guess, in a way, trying to figure out what this is. If this is like the Gracia being pushed, or is it the boot? Or is it something else? Or is it the shade? I think it might be the. Yeah, I think it might actually be like the shadow. And rather than going black, he's put it down as like a, just like a shadow like that. So I'm going to go along with that. Along that line. So it's like more like a, a kind of like a colored shadow rather than, just black. And then I'll go here and give a nice blue boots because my little sister, when she was young, because we live in the country basically. It's a small town, rural town, but basically the background's like we're just surrounded by country and mountains and all that. So my sister used to have when she was a kid, she had these bright blue boots, and I think I had black ones, yeah, big ones, like they came up right up to the ankles, but her ones were like this height, mid ankle, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, ankle high, and I had the calf high ones, like so it's like basically like her ones. So I'll just color them blue in line with my sister's. Like my sister's 40 right now. We went to dinner yesterday. I was just saying earlier on. It was cool, man. I went to like a Vietnamese restaurant that was run by Cambodians. What I found really interesting was that these are like, like maybe third generation or first generation Kiwis, but their second generation child had won gold medals at Taekwondo, representing New Zealand and Northland, where I live, right? And it was good, and they had this huge poster with all her cups, her awards, and a poster with this huge, of her in this Taekwondo pose. I thought that was cool, man. Like to have it there. And I was looking around saying, I thought, is that girl there that's working as, just in a restaurant while, helping her parents while she's, out there still training to be in Taekwondo, representing our city, our area, probably representing our country at that age. I think she was like about 14 or something in the photo poster, dressed up in her white. I wonder if it was karate or Taekwondo. I can't remember. I can't tell the difference, right? But she had a gi on. I think that's what's called gi. The uniform they have. So okay, yeah. So she will get her blue, my sister's blue gum boots as a kid. I remember her being like 5 years old and wearing them, running around the backyard. Crack up. What did I have? Yesterday I had prawns on prawns. Yeah, it was prawns on vermicelli salad. Right, it was cold. I didn't realize it was going to be cold. My sister goes, "Yeah, it's vermicelli." It's like, yeah, but I always have it like hot because no, it's the rice one that's hot, and the pho that's hot. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't mind. So I wasn't hungry, so I was looking for a smaller dish. So I ended up like even the amount I had, I couldn't finish because I had a very late dinner yesterday, or lunch, I should say, a 4 o'clock lunch, right? And so I wasn't that hungry, so I ended up like not eating much. So I brought half the food was taken, put in the bowl, plastic container to bring home. Okay, so skin tones. Where's my skin tone? Where's my skin tone palette? Let's try that, or maybe even lighter. No, that's about right. This girl here, Mary, I think it's Mary. Mary or Mary, I can't remember. She's Maori, right? So she's indigenous to New Zealand, so she's Maori. So she's kind of like a light brown. Some Maori people have like very dark skin as well, and then some are very light skin, depending on their, I guess, in their DNA, because they might have married, got married to someone with a lighter skin, like a European, or Chinese, or Indian. Right? So it could be darker or lighter depending on that. But our duo here, the brother and sister here, John and Mary, no, there's no other. Okay, now we're done with the skin tones. Let's go back to our which one was it? So the bottom right, the bottom cosmic horror yeah, it's cosmic horror that I'm using here as my palette. Because it's more of a darker tones, as you can see here with this. Let me bring this up so you can see the palette here, right? So it's all look kind of like it's got the numbers. If you're doing with the numbers, it's more of the, you know, kind of the middle numbers. Yes. Now, I'm going to give her a light blue shirt, but I want to give the brother a red kind of a shirt, just so it sticks out slightly. Or maybe, because it's a work shirt, so it's more of a, yeah, I might, there isn't like, it's I could go for the green. It might stick out, but I think the thing here I can do is like, yeah, I might do a two-tone. So her collar and her sleeves are one tone, and then her, you know, the waist coat is an area they call it, right? It's going to be a darker tone. Because if you're a farmer, you're not wearing a light. I mean, farm worker in this case with the kids here, you're not going to be like having a light tone clothes because it'll get dirty in mud, and you know, if you fall over and there's a cow patty there, which is, you know, cow crap, you know, done, and you end up falling on that, you don't want that going onto your nice clothes, so you wouldn't be wearing any light, you know, light tone clothing. She's got an undershirt on here, which you can see here. And then close. That. She's coming close here. Here we go. Stick. Right. Excuse me, I'll grab a drink. All right. And we're back. Okay. So if we go to a light of that, I can go here and use that. Yeah, as I was saying like earlier on about, you know, if you're an indie creator, you gotta, it is costly, right? And everybody knows that to create to put a book out. So you gotta try to limit limit uh, the expenses of creating your book, right? Lower the costing. So of course you're gonna, if you're not if you're a writer, especially if you're a writer, right, you have to think about how to you know, is it mitigate the right word? I don't know. The cost of it, right? So rather than paying somebody to color your, you know, or letter your work, why not spend some time learning how to do it yourself? Right? Why not spend some time learning and finding out how to, you know, color your work and or letter your work, how to set up the production of it. By that I mean like how to set up the page. Oh no, that's right. Messed up there. It's supposed to be like that's actually a skin tone. I just realized. Stand so you can see my. There we go. It's like all day I was like thinking, well, what is that? What is that? What is that? And then it's like, yeah, that's a skin tone. It's, yeah. Yeah. I think that's the blue of that. Excuse me. So, you know, I mean, like, seriously, we know it costs an arm and a leg to pay someone, especially if you're a new person and we don't have the money to, you know, to create a comic book. So why not go and learn how to, you know, color? Or why not go and lower the cost of it, but lower the cost of straw hat to one. It's too low. Kind of ascending, maybe. Yeah, that's better. That might work. The highlights later on. By doing the flats yourself, do the lettering yourself, right? It's trying to save. Oh, what? Yeah. And by doing that, you're now saving you maybe, I guess, $800 US. By lettering, you're probably saving maybe another $400 US, depending what your letterer is going to pay, charge you for it. So now, give or take, you've saved $1,200. And you as a writer, right? Okay, so that. Okay. Right, you as a writer are now able to put out a book that's more cost effective and for you as a budget, right? And this is where a lot of people get in trouble, by the way, financially. A lot of people go, oh, you know, this, you know, when we finished off after the Kickstarter, we found that like we didn't, you know, we didn't equate into the freight costs or the printing costs. It's like, well, the first thing you're supposed to do is find out how much it costs to print your book. Number one. There are so many printers out there, they'll tell you exactly how much it's going to cost because it's up to them to give you a quote. And you can go out and look at a whole bunch of other printers and online, whatever, you know, in your local city. And you can go, well, look, man, this dude's offering me this if I do this. If I print this many. Be honest with your printer. I told one printer that I was going to like print a book every year for such and such long time. And basically, we agreed on something, and he decided at the end to send me a bill for something else. And I was like, never going to deal with you again. End of story. right? Um, so there's enough people out here who are in business excuse me. We're still in the middle of winter. I woke up like it was so cold, man. Like the room was freezing. So I opened up like the window just slightly, and oh, I'm on the wrong level. That ink level. Layer, not level, layer. And so if you don't do your, like in New Zealand we call it let your fingers do the walking, right? It's off this old TV ad for Yellow Pages. I'm not sure if that's what you guys call it in America or elsewhere around the world, but Yellow Pages is the business, you know, like the telephone book, right? Part of the telephone book, which is like in New Zealand, because where we live, the white pages are for everybody, me, Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then like the Yellow Pages is for the business people. So what they do, like for TV ads and stuff and radio ads, was let your fingers do the walking, rather than going around visiting every friggin' all over town trying to find out who does what business. You just go, okay, under the telephone, under the builders, under the printers, you find these people, right? So let your fingers do the walking. With Google, with word search, you can find a lot of people's information just by sending them an email. I mean, a lot of people quotes from a lot of people just by sending an email. The other thing about creating comics and using crowdfunding, you can't be lazy. You really can't, because there's a million other people. I was saying, give or take 100,000 other people do it, right? So you're in competition with them all the time to get eyes before get their eyes on your project, right? So you constantly have to let people know what you're up to. But also, you got to be honest about it, right? Gee, this too dark. Let's try that. Nope, looks a bit blurry. That looks a bit blurry. There you go. Too dark. Let's try that one. Yeah. Yeah. And then, the renderer, or whatever you want to call them, the shader can come in, but a little lighter. I mean, the final touch-ups, the colorist. But the problem in comics is now is that name brand is everything, it seems. Doesn't matter if you do shitty work. Doesn't matter if you take years to put out a 22-page comic book. It really doesn't matter, right? Doesn't even matter if you put out an AI book, which is kind of sad. But but that's what people are doing. And so now you're competing with AI content, the crappiest of the crappiest of the crappy, because it is what it is, right? Sadly, people don't know the difference. I was going to give them a blue, but I gave them a red. I mean, I was going to give them a red shirt, but I gave them red boots. I'm going to change the boots around. So I still wanted to get a red shirt. So I'm going to go back again, change that around. Imagine having to compete with robots already at this level. You know, everybody said that, you know, we have robots helping us and stuff, you know, AI helping us, but now we just basically have people who cheat, you know, rather than working hard to put quality work out there. And I'm not talking about the people who go, oh, it's going to take me 5 years to put a 20-page comic out. I'm a professional comic creator. You know, I've spent a decade in mainstream comics, man. But there are people out here now using AI. Make my comic look like Jim Lee has done it. This is what I want. And people just will, you know, give $20,000 to it. Yeah, here we are, you know, in the IE or DY, B and C tier level creators who can't even compete with that because people just see something pretty and that's it. You know, oh, that's supposed to be Jinx. What if I should give him brown pants or gray pants? No, let's give him blue jeans. He can have great jeans too. But, you know, if you're really worried about the cost of creating comic books, get a freaking, you know, get some education on how to create, how to ladder, number one. Number two, how to get a tablet, whatever you can get your hands on, whatever you can afford, right? And invest in yourself. Because one of the things about people say is like, well, why should I invest in you if you don't invest in yourself? You know, when people ask for investments and stuff, like, you know, people, can you back me? Can you support me? Go fund me? All this, you know. Well, why would I support you if you don't want to, you know, if you don't go out of your way to support yourself? That's too dark, right? There you go. Right. And so that's what I mean by invest in yourself. Because it's like a business thing, right? Invest in yourself, right? Go get education, learn how to draw, whatever you're going to call it. But learning how to draw takes a while. It takes a lot of talent. So that's why a lot of people go, oh, you know what? I'll just use AI. And then we get all this crap online. Google search, go, oh, I like an image of a person standing in front of a tree. And because, oh, is this what you want? It's like freaking AI crap. No, I wanted a photo of a person. Is that what you want? A regurgitated, you know, AI photo, you know, re-imaged of a person. It's like, that's not a photo. I asked for a photo, an actual image. Something from Getty's, right? Getty Images, whatever. Something like that. But yeah, so why not invest in yourself if you're in comics? Right? Why not put that effort in and learn how to create comics? You know, in the sense of, okay, you're not an artist, great, all right, fine, all right, ignore that part. But what about the rest of it? Why not, you know, why not invest in the fact that you can do the other stuff that you know that you don't need an artist to do, which is color, right? Which is ladder. This thing I'm using right here, Clip Studio Paint. It costs around about $14 a month or something like that for me, right? Or whatever it is. US, I'm not sure. So you divide that into a day. It's like about what, 25 cents a day or something like that worked out. my maths is probably terrible right now with that. But just imagine. So you're investing 27, I don't know, whatever. Divide that by whatever, right? So whatever cents a day in yourself in learning up and doing your lettering. Over the long term, you've saved so much money in putting a comic out, right? Learn how to set up your page, right? Learn how to color it, save so much time, because while you're out here like yakety yak online, well, you could just be coloring, you could be lettering, saving your team and saving you a lot of money. If I give them that, I can give her a similar color. So it's like, oh, mum went and bought us both the same color, color gloves, leather gloves, working on the farm, hay bathing, whatever you want to call it. There's the stupid government, segue here about farming, decided that, well, we're going to have to make a new rules about how, and it wasn't the current government, but the Labour government, the commies, socialists, decided that, well, we should tell the farmers and the kids what they can do while on their farm and how old they can be when they work on the farm and what they can do. When you're a farmer's kid, you grow up learning everything about that farm from your dad or your mom, the experience from your older siblings and stuff. You learn how to drive a tractor at a very young age, like 10 years old or something. A motorbike, whatever, four-wheeler, trikes, whatever. And you learn how to do a lot of things very young. And that all, actually, I just realized that that was a wheel and not the, whatever, I can't remember what that is called, spoilers. The spoilers might be something else. Hubcaps, that's right. It's hubcaps. Spoilers are the mud flat things, right, at the back or something. I don't know. I'm not very smart about those things. So let's put the wheels that color. Let's put this back to a silver tone. Yep, that's better. Let's get back to that color. Let's see that color. And so they're trying to they're trying to go, oh, well, you can be only this age and you can only do this. It's like there's nobody who cares more about their kids than farmers, because they build up that farm to leave to their kids, right? When they grow old. This will be yours one day, son. But a lot of people that make rules like that in government, they've never been on a farm. They never know, what being what being on a farm is like, what being a child of a farm is like. If you grow up in rural communities, man, you're a different person when you grow up. You're much more grounded. Your concept of family, your ideas of nature isn't superficial. Conservation isn't superficial. It's all real, right? We need to have clean water, son, because in our rivers, because our animals will get sick if it's not clean. So make sure that we always we don't dump this rubbish here and that, because that our animals will get sick. And then the quality of our animals when we go to sell them, well, if they're sickly, well, son, we won't get, or daughter, we won't get the best price in the market. So we got to make sure that these these livestock of ours are really well looked after and they're healthy. because otherwise at auction, we'd be beating up everybody else. But city people don't know much about farming, nor do they care to, because they always look down on on country folk. It's been always the way. Oh, those rednecks don't know much about nothing. They're uneducated. Except most of the education comes from actual life for rural people. Right? It's real education where it comes from. Everyday practical learning. Working alongside someone who spent their entire life learning from their own, father and father's fathers and all that knowledge passed through the generations. And so that's why kind of like for me, I like being around farming people because I come from a farming community, right? Because I know that they're just solid people, right? Hardworking, solid people. I remember one time I started working in this new place after having come back from film school, and I was told that we like you people from Fiji, you Indians from Fiji, because you work harder than these Indians from India. Didn't even know that was the case. But this is just, that was what's said. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, they treat us like, these people from India, they treat us like we're beneath them. And I said, oh, why's that? Well, most of them come from the cities, and because in India there's so many people, most of these people actually had servants there. And so here they are coming to New Zealand, working the same job as you are, and you've never had a servant. I'm like, I've never had a servant, but they're working the same job I have, and they don't have servants. But so now we work, working in the warehouse section, picking, doing deliveries or stocking the shelves. We're seen as their servants, so they treat us like, and they don't work. And the other thing, they don't work just as hard as everybody else does, who's a local. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. So yeah, that's the difference that we noticed. I'm like, oh, okay. But that's the thing, right? People have perceptions of other people without knowing what sort of what their background is or who they are, until you actually hear from other people about them, right? That's why I can say, like, if you see, you notice that a lot of farmers don't have muscle, like huge bulky muscles, put on muscles, they don't go to the gym because all their muscles come from real, they're not bulky, they come from real work, right? Like this kid would knock out probably someone of his same age, and throw him over, pick him up and not knock out, but pick him up and throw him over, because his muscles are real from everyday work, right? His body's toned, whatever you want to call it. But you'll have all these people like, like I was just looking at this, I was thinking of wrestling, because I watch a lot of death matches. I love that whole, barbed wire, well, not so much barbed wire, but like, just that hardcore wrestling stuff. Extreme wrestling, So I was just remember this about like the body shape and stuff. Like there's a lot of people out here who actually, have real, physique. And then there are those who have like used steroids, this, or faked, whatever. I guess not fake, but like just bulked up by just lifting weights all day. but not really from hard work. But like, yeah, I honestly would not want to get into a fight with a. I remember I did actually one time. It wasn't my fault. It was just like the way it was happened, and with a farming kid, and I noticed the strength between me and her, and I was a bodybuilder. And you know, you look at me like now, like, dude, you're skinny as shit. Like, no, at 15, I was lifting weights. You know, I left school and then I was like, I was lifting weights. I was actually every 2-3 days, I'll be back training with an adult friend of mine, Dennis, and we'd be like lifting weights and another friends because he put his because he didn't have space at home to do it, so he asked one of his mates if we could put the weights in his back in his garage or in his back kind of like shed, and we'd go there every couple of days and you know use his weights to train. That's another thing that I have a pet peeve of is like all these people who lift all these weights on like online and they have no spotters. I'm like, there are some brainless people around here in the gyms, man. And then they get stuck underneath their weights and they're like, you know, yelling, help me, help me. It's like, why don't you have a spotter? That's dangerous. You know, you could break your ribs, let alone break your neck. But people out here, like with the YouTube generation, or I shouldn't say YouTube generation, social media generation is all about looks, right? Not actually about safety or anything. But yeah. But learn to, if you want to do comics, learn to invest in yourself because it is expensive. Very expensive. That's why, it sucks when you have, when you put a book that you will spend a lot of time and effort creating and you don't get the back end because of whatever. And, you kind of get especially if it's your first one, you basically become very discouraged. And it's kind of sad to see that you can either be discouraged and leave it and go away, or you just try to push through it and figure out where it went wrong, where you could get better at it, And I realized here this is going to be lighter because this is dark here. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to go back here and lighten this brown because this brown's a bit dark. Better. Okay. So where did I get this brown from? Let's try that one. Yeah, that's better. So now it stands out more than this darker one here in the background. Now, I'm having issues with the color of this house, right? So I reckon if I go with this blue, because I was going to go white, right? And if I go white, it just doesn't look right. So I'm going to go, right, you can see all this here, where I already colored, just doesn't look right. Select color. All right. And let's see if it looks better with that. Yeah, it stands out a bit more. The sky up here is going to be a bit lighter as well. So let me get my sky color right. So if this is my sky color, maybe that might work. Yeah, that works better. As you can see, right? So it's a bit dark, but between the two, that looks better as a tone. There we go. Yes, it is, it is a bit more thing. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe that color needs to be here and this color needs to be there. So let me see. Yeah. Because this is more of a close-up and that's a further away. Oh, anyway, I'll let the colors decide. You know. Now, now I better finish this one before I move on to anything else. They go to the house thing again. I mean, complete the house. And the other thing here is I noticed there's a tiny pixel there that was sticking out. That's better. Okay. I need to take my jumper off because it's really hot in here now, so I'm just going to do a bit of a music break. Yeah. Video clip. And we'll be back.
An expert biologist, and when this handsome fellow isn't traveling across the world doing research, he's at home cooking a great meal?
But yeah, that's all true, but Sancho, where did you get that?
An excellent assistant knows how to write an excellent introduction. You got it, boss.
Or taking a long walk on the beach? Who wrote this mess?
And a quick drink. All right. Now, for you guys who are saying, you know, what is this? We haven't been here before. We're saying, what is up? Wait. Hey. Excuse me. I got chased away there. Right, press there, everyone. Anyone had, like, talk about that. Has anyone had trouble with, like, trying to set up your Windows 10 for Windows 11? I noticed recently, like in the update yesterday, one of my keyboards wouldn't work. My Gamertech keyboard, which is a lighted backlit keyboard thing. So it freaking cost me $50 only about 4 months ago, and now it doesn't work. So yesterday on, after I did an update, like, you know, because it told me I had to update, right? And suddenly it wouldn't work. So I'm using a Dell from about like 15 years ago keyboard, or even older, maybe a decade old keyboard, instead of the brand new one I just bought about 4 months ago, which should be working. And then I said, well, so I got to the website and I said, hey, what is up with this, man? So I had there, you know, a person, because their AI answered, then said, AI couldn't figure out what it was going on, right? So let me get you in touch with a real person. So I said, okay, cool, here we go. So I said, dude, I bought this 4 months ago, and my computer's telling me there's no app for it. He said, oh, let me go check. So he went and checked. Oh, there's no app for it. I go, and for it just should be the plug-in use. I was like, well, it's not plugging in using. And I'm using a Dell, right, a decade-old Dell keyboard that's working fine. And all of a sudden, your one isn't. So the only thing I can do is next time I go to town, which is next week, go back to them and go, listen, I want a refund. This keyboard isn't working anymore. Right. So kind of like, yeah, it's kind of a segue on there, but it's like, it's weird how, you know, this upgrade. And this other thing is that, like, Microsoft is being sued right now about the upgrade ending. Like, rather than be having their OS end in like about 7 years, they've decided to end it in 3 years, like the support for it. So I was watching a video talking about that, and they were talking about how, you know, they're no longer going to support it, and so there's somebody out here suing them for that. So yeah, in case you don't know about that, you know, there is that. You can do like a, you know, what's up with this whole, you know, Windows 11 coming on. My computer, right, which is pretty good. Like, it's got about, I think it's 12 gig RAM, and it's telling my and the video and all that. And it's telling me my computer isn't able to go up to Windows 11 anymore. I'm like, what? Do I have to get a new NVIDIA setup? Like, so I got to spend another $600-700 in Islam to get a NVIDIA card, the next level, because Windows 11 wants to, you know, do its thing. So one thing I've noticed is that these tech companies are really, really desperate for money right now, and they're trying to squeeze. Because here's the thing: if you don't have a new product upgrade, people are just going to stick with the same one, right? So this is one thing that Apple does, right? So instead of putting it allowing for SD card slot for more memory, they don't have it, which means that when you run out, that's it. You got to buy the next phone, which is why in a way, I feel like I will never buy Apple iPhones ever or a tablet, because like I can get a 256 gig RAM or whatever it is, right? Oh, I mean, sorry, memory card, right? Or a gig memory card, whatever, and slot it into a Samsung, right? Like a normal, that you can do with a desktop. And again, I don't have to buy another Samsung. Unless you want to, like, you have to, your particular type of friggin' game app doesn't allow, needs you to upgrade every time. But I don't need that. I just need to, use it for a couple of social media things and call people or text people. That's it. I don't do gaming on my phone. So why should I have to, upgrade just because Apple tells me I have to, right? I found that out with my Apple Mini desktop computer, thing, which was HD drive. And so I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna, and I had a Apple tablet as well, MacBook Pro. So many issues trying to figure out, how to upgrade this so it runs and does what I want. Do I level ahead of about a decade? Then I went, stop this. I'm just going to go desktop, Windows desktop, right? PC desktop, and upgraded that to a 12 gig RAM straight away. Next, what I'll do is like go up to at least like 24. The 24, yeah. So it's like way faster. That'll probably take me a few more months because I got to save us some money to do that. Because right now, and plus I got to get another 2 terabytes of extra. That's a little lighter, so let's go with the darker. Oh yeah, so that's it. That bit of a segue on computer science, right? So you're probably thinking like, why do I have this image here? Well, I talked about this last time about how I wanted a specific look to represent what we have in New Zealand. This is a house from New Zealand, right? This is a farming house, rural farm house from New Zealand, and so I asked my artist, who's James D. Hill, right? I asked him I gave him this reference. I said, okay, so for the next 2 pages, this is what I want. The only thing I want that has to be this look is this house. So he used that as a reference, sent him that as a reference to work with. Because this is kind of this is like my house. Like the shape, because it's a 1960s house. Our house, my family house is kind of shaped like this. It's weird, man. Like, except this part here is it's like way at the back here, the backyard. Kind of like the back door. Now I just realized I got to fix this area here a little bit before I go into. Whoops. We gotta get the grass in there, otherwise like, what the hell's that? Right, and then you also got this. Trying to figure out, yeah, that's that. Then go across and do the flex here. So let's just cement here. Okay, we're getting close to 2 hours. I'm probably gonna finish off in about another 5-6 minutes. yeah, so I think this stream's mainly about like, the topic of this stream has been about investing in yourself if you're an indie creator, right? And also not putting lipstick on swine, on pigs, right? Which is the other topic we covered. What I talked about how people are trying to sell B grade or A grade cover art on C grade interior art content, which is basically disappointing to a lot of people when they receive their content. Their comic books that is a very low tier, which I call C tier or D tier, right? Because their cover was very good, because they paid someone really good money and they put that cover on there. So, I'm of the mind that if you're going to release a comic, make sure that interior art is the same cover artist on your A tier cover, right? Or A cover. Because that way, just want something to look different from the house color. So do a darker blue there, blue jeans color. So that stands out a bit more rather than so yeah, what I did that. I was like, I colored on that ink. Right, now do that the color. Here we go. So that now looks a bit more, you won't notice it if you're looking at it straight on as a cover art, but as a page color. But I will notice it because this is how big it'll normally be, or even less than that. Right? It'll be what's the page? What size is a normal page? So you'll be seeing it about, if you've bought, physical. This is how big it looks. So you can't even see that. But for me, because I'm seeing it, I want to make sure it's correct. I put in the extra effort, making sure it's nice and clean. Right. Okay, is my concrete sorted? No, it's not. Okay. Color that. Another color. So that. So this. So let's finish this one. So I'll put that here. Already my palette. Usually I might carry on for a bit until I can get this house done. We have to leave something finished. Is it the same color? No, it's the pole color, wasn't it? Oops. Fix it. Correctly. these older houses, man, like in New Zealand, there we noticed when we were like taking out like shelves and drawers out of it, we found that they were made of like the most expensive timber you can have in New Zealand, kauri. It's one of the strongest, and it was crazy finding kauri timber, the house being made of that. Now, everything's made of pine and stuff because it's easier and it's shorter to process. Like 20 years, you can have a decent tree, pine tree for building with. Whereas like kauri is like takes can be huge, like seriously huge, like 100 meters to 200 meters high. But the canopies, they're just the trunks of it, right? Like this fat area at the bottom, whatever you want to call it, like this area is huge. It's like it could be as big as this house. So you can get a lot of timber out of it. So way back then, people weren't too worried about like what trees they were using. Now it's almost like you're not allowed to cut down a kauri tree because of whatever. Because now everybody's just using pine and stuff like that. But yeah, when we found that, I was like, this is cool. So I actually ended up like, rather than, throwing away on something, I just realized what it was. I was like, oh, you know what? I am going to use them as picture frames. So I did. I got my dad's grinder out or like sender out and I sanded back the paint from them. And because it like layers, like since the 60s, it's been repainted several times, right? For whoever owned the house before us and before them and so on. So they painted over several times for the change of the interior art and stuff like my sister right now is repainting her house kitchen, for my brother-in-law anyway. And so people want to make things look like want a better change over the years. After being in that same house for 10 years, looking at the same painting or same wall color, you kind of feel like, oh, you know what, I think that now let's do a bit of change, time for change. So in our house, somebody had been doing that over and over again, over like every decade or something. So it was like the color had been, the kauri, friggin' expensive, most expensive tree, timber you could get in New Zealand, had been painted over and over again. But yeah, I got to, and actually, I ended up swapping the art for another artist's ceramics material. I mean, like art, right? And so she now has my painting in her house with one of the most expensive frame, right? Wooden frames you can think of in the world. If you know anything about kauri, it's like timber gold, right? You have black gold with oil. Well, it's like timber gold. Oh, it's getting blurry and watery from looking at this thing. The screen. Glasses, man. Usually they say about like you gotta like rest your eyes and stuff every so often, but like when I'm doing them, so like yeah, it's at 4 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever at a time, so it's okay. I can handle that. It's the same thing if you're like sitting in a chair for so many hours, you gotta like move around. Otherwise, it's not good for your back long term. A lot of people, like when you're younger, you're like, yeah, I can do everything. But when you get to like 60 or 50, you're like, why can't I move my back? Why is it painful when I wake up in the morning? Yeah. In my case, it's because I got in a car accident. Came with my skateboard many times and my BMX bike, whatever types of bike I had at whatever time in a period, and I fell off it when I head over heels, all that stuff, crash outs. But yeah, man, if you out here, indie comics, invest in yourself, because don't expect other people to invest in you, what you're doing, unless you don't want to invest in yourself. And just because you got some artists doing your stuff, don't expect them to do everything, because otherwise you're going to end up having to pay other people to do it if you don't learn to pick up the part of what you can do. And what a lot of writers can do is learn how to do lettering and color fading. Honestly, and it's easier if you have one of these things, right? A Cintiq or a tablet, a color tablet, rather than what I've been using over the last almost, was it 20 years? Yeah, almost 20 years, which was a Wacom tablet, right? It's just black, and you attach it to a monitor. Whereas I'm so glad that finally I was able to pay less for, kind of like, I guess, the same amount 20 years later that I paid for a Wacom. It was 4, right? Back in 2006. No, no. It was 15. So it's 2010. Yeah. But yeah, and the other thing, like, there are better products than a Photoshop. A lot of people use Photoshop for their comics and all that. There are better products and cheaper products, more suited to doing comics than Photoshop. For digital work and stuff like that. This is one of them. Let's see, okay, right? This thing here. So I mentioned I've been using it for at least around 2 decades now. And no, I'm not affiliate with them, but I wouldn't mind that. But whatever. So, but I do, it's a good program. I do recommend it. It's cheap, monthly, or you can outright buy it. I rather like a monthly because it's just like $14. I think it's about $20 New Zealand out of my pocket a month, which is like works out to $5 a week, right? And you can do your lettering on it, as I've showed. This is all this lettering here. This is all done on this. All right, all this is done on here. Using this, I'm coloring with it, I'm lettering with it, I'm doing my logo designs with it, I'm setting up my pages with it, all the, pre-press, what do you want to call it, it's all done on here. See some trees up, I mean, bit of some, like bit of rock, make those as rocks, and then maybe do a different color on that. But I think that's that. My shoulder's a bit knobby. But yeah, did I finish this? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Let me finish this, at least finish this one panel, right? To the right darkness. let me finish this, and that's it for today. Don't think I can do any more. Okay, I'm on the right. There we go. Just thinking here, but I need to. Let's go. Let's color the house. There was also this color on the gutter. You'll notice it's this dark blue. Or the trim, I should say, not the gutter, the trim. Right, not here, but up on here. See that? So if I put that here, it'll be easier for me next time to grab it. And that noise was from my little finger scratching, wiping on the screen here. Okay, so there we go. Perfecto. So there's that. Same thing here. So there, yeah, it's fine. And this one is the. It's funny here. Like, look at this. It's a white. The shadow makes it look like it's like bluish gray. So here's the front here, which is a different color, right? And that's my gun. Let's finish that. And this should be green. Which is that? Which is this? This. Closer. All right. Just realized, yep, that's the pole. And the pole is this blue. And the glass. It's interesting. It's like, look at this. Like, if you see through the glass, it's clear, right? But the house looks like this because you're not seeing through the glass. So now it looks dark. Right? So I would get that clear. But these ones here would have to be dark. Which here would be, I guess, like that, but more of a gray. Right? Maybe that blue is a bit even iffy. A bit more iffy. I guess the minus is a close. Nope, that doesn't work. More blue out. I know that doesn't work the way I want. Maybe this one. Oops. Yeah, let's go with that. Now, he also had this trim here. So I got to go in and do that trim for the outside. Right, for this stuff here. The best way to do that is go like that. Right there. There we go. And this will go up here as well. Finally, one final panel done properly. Completed, I should say. It's been a slow going. With all, talking and stuff, whatever have you. Yeah. Question here is, do I go to light brown, gray background, or do I go with a black or a white? Because it is daytime, so you can't go, well, what is the best color? But we'll see how all the colors pop out, whether we leave it white and so on. So since I'm there, I might as well just use that, shut that in there. At the window. And clean it up later. The other background interiors. No, she's still out in the farm here, so finish up farm background. There you go. Then click on the door. The house. What color was that amatuer house? Is it beige? Because I'm trying to go for the older 1960s kind of house interior. Got these posters and stuff up, but that's the house. Whoops. It's one of her rooms there, so that's why you got that line there. Maybe. What's that? Maybe olive. Yeah, let's give it a olive background, right? And then go for a darker tone of olive for kind of the ceiling. We'll give it that. Appreciate between the two. Here he's still wearing his red top. She isn't, right? So here we'll just give her a little kind of like a pink. It's a bit too dark. Apricot. Let's do a bit dark, a little bit light. Actually, let me change the color altogether. That will do. All right. Okay, and I think this is it. It just gives me something to mess around with while I'm prep for next time, or when I come back to work on later. Yay! All right, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for your loyalty to come and check out the Monkey King and Monkey King show, or the show. So we were televised live, and you were here. So thank you for your service and your loyalty to our channel. If you like what we talk about here, please comment on what we've been discussing, about what your thoughts are about the pigs on swine comment that I made, about the tiers, the A, B, and C tiers. Also, investing in yourself. Whether you think that's a good thing, because I do want I want to hear from you guys, because we are talking about the indie comics scene and where we're at, and I hope that today you got something out of it, and if there's a topic that you want me to discuss, if that you think that I should look into, let me know. I'll have I'll take some time to look into it, and we'll talk about it in the next one, or the scheduled for future discussion on it. But thank you for coming and hanging out with me, and thank you for your loyalty to the Monkey Show, and to I as the Monkey King of Zeolandia. So please, also, just before I finish here, do go check out some of the comics that are available right now on the Rising Sun Publishing page. There are quite a few indie creators outside of myself who have their books there. And there are some quality books, right? Both, on different tiers, like A, B, and C tiers. So, you can check them out. There's some fan comics as well, right? There's some amazing works there. Went to the next page. Hold on. Next tab. There are some really, really good books that's worthy of your time and money, to be honest. I think, let me remove that so you guys can see the right page I'm on. There's a series called Armadillo Justice, which is brilliant. Right? Honestly, do go check it out. It's for all ages, for kids and everything. The artwork is amazing. You can read it for free, right? The first issue, you can purchase it as well. But honestly, there's some amazing work out there that you can, check out. So don't be afraid to check out other people, other people's work, because there's some better quality work out here than you're just seeing, in front of you on YouTube and so on. Much better quality and skill work that's been put into them. Especially this one here, which is a all ages book, right? Very, very, very cool. And the work, you can find out how good it is for yourself. I don't have to sell it, but it's an all ages book, so you can read it with the kids. There's things in there. There's two different types. There's ones that like his series that has the, what is it called? That has, a straight comic book, right? Then there's another one that's for kids as well, which has like activities and stuff like that, language, translations, like spelling. It's kind of like a word search type thing. And the armadillos have their own language, so you can actually figure out like the alphabet and all this. This has been around for a while, but people, it hasn't been put out in front of people for a while. But it's one of the good books as an all ages book. So yeah, go check it out. It's at risingsuncomics.com, and it's called Armadillo Justice. And you can go, do go check it out. That's all I can say, right? So that's all I have to say about it. But do let me know if you guys want me to talk about certain things. I'm here, and leave a comment in the chat. Under the video on YouTube, and I will get around to it, and I will try to answer those questions if you have questions, or if there's something you want me to talk about, I will bring it up in a later stream. Thank you for your time, and wherever you are, have an amazing day, week, night, whatever. We'll get you the flip side, and we'll get you on the next Monkey Show. Ka kite anō. Have a good one, guys, and all the best for your day and life.
Nope. Can't stay here anymore. I gotta get back. I think this was the spot. Oh Lord, I beseech thee, please return me to my old life. I swear I'll do anything. Like, literally anything. And I won't bother you again, so pretty please bring me back to life.